We firmly believe that in a world fraught with geo-economic and political uncertainties,
the European Union's move to target the American auto industry emerged as a stunning display of transatlantic economic brinkmanship. A complex geopolitical maneuver unfolded when the newly elected United States president declared plans to impose tariffs on key trade partners. In response, the bloc that had long been a symbol of economic integration and regulatory consensus suddenly found itself at a crossroads of economic defense and strategic counterattack. European policymakers, recognizing the severity of the threat posed to the region's economic stability, chose to retaliate in a manner that sent shockwaves through the global market. The ensuing counterstrike was designed to create a robust deterrent effect, strategically aimed at the heart of the U.S. auto industry, a sector emblematic of American innovation and manufacturing prowess. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. As news of the tariff announcement began to circulate, European leaders quickly convened a series of high-level discussions. The deliberations were underscored by an acute awareness of the interdependencies that bind the transatlantic economies. The auto industry, with its intricate supply chains and shared technology platforms, was not merely an economic engine. It was a symbol of decades of technological cooperation and innovation. European policymakers argued that the unilateral imposition of tariffs risked unraveling decades of economic progress. The decision to target the U.S. auto industry, therefore, was seen as a necessary countermeasure aimed at safeguarding the interests of European manufacturers while sending a clear message of economic solidarity and strategic resilience. The counterstrike was characterized by its precision and deliberate targeting. European authorities sought to exploit vulnerabilities in the U.S. auto supply chain that had evolved over time through a blend of competitive markets and close transatlantic partnerships. By imposing measures that directly affected the auto industry, European regulators aimed to disrupt the operational capacities of American manufacturers, which were heavily reliant on imported parts and advanced engineering components from Europe. This interdependency had long been a hallmark of the transatlantic relationship, and the European strategy was to leverage this economic entanglement. The targeted approach was underpinned by sophisticated economic modeling and scenario analysis, reflecting a deep understanding of the intricate interplay between tariffs, trade balances, and global market dynamics. The announcement of tariffs by the new U.S. administration signified a dramatic shift in trade policy that reverberated well beyond the political arena. The decision was perceived as a challenge to the established rules-based international order. In response, European leaders recalibrated their strategies, channeling decades of diplomatic experience into a cohesive economic counteroffensive. The decision to focus on the U.S. auto industry was emblematic of a broader strategy designed to undermine the economic incentives behind the tariff policies. European policymakers reasoned that the auto sector was one of the most visible and high-profile elements of American manufacturing and a key contributor to national pride and identity. Thus, any disruption in this sector would carry not only economic but also symbolic ramifications. The European counterstrike was not merely a reactive measure. It was the culmination of extensive planning and a deep understanding of the transatlantic economic ecosystem. Behind closed doors, policymakers had been exploring a variety of scenarios that could mitigate the potential damage from unilateral tariffs. The countermeasures, while designed to protect European interests, also carried the inherent risk of further escalating trade tensions. Nevertheless, the calculus was clear. The costs imposed on the U.S. auto industry would serve as a deterrent against future unilateral actions. In this context, the European response was crafted with an eye toward establishing a precedent, one in which retaliation was swift and forceful in the face of economic coercion. The strategic rationale behind targeting the U.S. auto industry was multifaceted. On one level, it was an exercise in economic self-defense, designed to neutralize the impact of tariffs that threatened the intricate balance of transatlantic trade. On another level, it was a demonstration of the EU's capability to mobilize collective economic power in the face of challenges to its economic sovereignty. The auto industry, with its extensive network of suppliers and high levels of technological sophistication, provided a natural focal point for such a countermeasure. European policymakers understood that the industry's interconnected nature meant that any disruption would ripple across multiple sectors, potentially curbing the momentum of the U.S. economy at a critical juncture. The announcement of the tariffs and the subsequent European counterstrike revealed a deep-seated tension between protectionist impulses and the realities of a globalized economy. The U.S. decision was steeped in a broader political ideology that favored unilateral action over multilateral negotiation. In contrast, the European response was rooted in a commitment to collective decision-making and the preservation of long-established international partnerships. This ideological clash was laid bare in the public sphere, where debates raged over the merits of economic nationalism versus global interdependence. The contrasting approaches underscored the divergent economic philosophies that had come to define the transatlantic relationship in recent years. Economic experts closely analyzed the potential ramifications of the European counterstrike. They noted that the decision could have far-reaching implications beyond the immediate impact on the U.S. auto industry. The auto sector, emblematic of modern manufacturing and technological innovation, was seen as a bellwether for the broader industrial base. Disruptions in this sector could lead to cascading effects in related industries, including parts manufacturing, logistics, and even consumer electronics. The potential for such ripple effects added an extra layer of gravity to the European response, emphasizing the need for a meticulously calibrated strategy that would maximize deterrence while minimizing unintended consequences. In crafting the countermeasure, European policymakers employed a range of economic instruments designed to undermine the competitive advantage of American auto manufacturers. These measures included recalibrating import-export policies, tightening regulatory standards, and leveraging intellectual property rights as bargaining chips in international negotiations. The overarching goal was to disrupt the delicate equilibrium of supply and demand that had long underpinned the U.S. auto sector. European experts argued that by altering the cost structure and operational dynamics of the industry, they could impose significant financial strain on American manufacturers. This approach was undergirded by a sophisticated understanding of economic interdependencies, one that recognized the potential to influence market behavior through targeted regulatory interventions. The move also highlighted the broader geopolitical stakes that underlie contemporary trade disputes. The U.S. tariff policy was not merely an economic measure, it was also a statement of intent, reflective of a broader strategy aimed at reshaping global economic governance. The European response, in contrast, was a reaffirmation of the region's commitment to multilateralism and the rules-based international order. By choosing to counterstrike in the auto sector, European leaders signaled their readiness to defend not only their economic interests, but also the fundamental principles that had long guided international trade relations. The episode thus served as a microcosm of the larger ideological contest between divergent visions of global economic management. The counterstrike was met with intense scrutiny from economists and policymakers around the world. Analysts debated the long-term viability of such unilateral measures, questioning whether they would lead to a stable reordering of trade relations or trigger further retaliatory actions. The decision to focus on the auto industry was seen as particularly bold, given the sector's importance to both the U.S. and European economies. The move underscored the inherent risks of economic interdependence, highlighting how deeply intertwined global supply chains could become the battleground for high-stakes economic warfare. While some experts lauded the strategic audacity of the European response, others cautioned that such actions could exacerbate tensions and undermine the prospects for a cooperative global economic framework. The dramatic sequence of events, from the initial announcement of tariffs to the EU's swift countermeasure, encapsulated a moment of profound uncertainty and rapid change in international trade policy. The auto industry, with its symbolic resonance and economic heft, emerged as the focal point of a broader struggle over the future of global economic governance. The European approach was characterized by a blend of pragmatism and ideological resolve, reflecting a deep commitment to safeguarding not only immediate economic interests, but also the long-term integrity of the international order. The episode, steeped in high-stakes economic maneuvering, left no doubt about the determination of European leaders to stand firm in the face of what they perceived as an existential threat to a shared economic future. The interplay between economic strategy and political rhetoric was evident in every facet of the unfolding drama. The tariffs announced by the U.S. administration were couched in terms that emphasized American sovereignty and the need to protect domestic industries from unfair competition. In stark contrast, the European response was framed as a defense of a collective economic vision that prioritized stability, cooperation, and shared prosperity. The narrative that emerged was one of two fundamentally different approaches to global trade, one that favored unilateral action and protectionism, and another that championed multilateralism and strategic restraint. This clash of visions provided a window into the broader ideological debates that continue to shape international relations in an era of rapid economic change. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on the EU's counterstrike against Trump's tariffs? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.